is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering WestWorld, Season 1, Episode 7. Tromp l'œil. I used Google, guys. I tried to figure out how to pronounce it. It didn't make it any easier.
It really didn't.
In this episode, our gentle, sweet friend is a killing machine. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
I know I said this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I made a couple jokes. I might even have joked around about how he had no reaction to Elsie showing him shit and said something like, "Oh, does that not look like anything to you?" I didn't mean it. I knew somebody on the staff was going to have to be... I figured they had to... It was going to have to happen. Somebody was going to be revealed to be a host. But, like, this is just such a mean way to tell us. It's so mean for so many reasons. It's so mean because it's cloaked in this whole, oh, he's really going behind Ford's back finally. Oh, he's really starting to act on his suspicions. Oh, even though he's been fired, he's going to try and help Teresa. All of this, like, lead up that makes you think, like, what a good, decent person. And I had been, like, when the episode started with his waking up from a bad dream, that was when my suspicion was piqued a little bit, because that's been how it starts with the hosts. We see their dream and then we see them waking up. But then I thought, maybe the show's just making a parallel. Maybe it's not like a hint. Maybe they're just trying to be like, oh yeah, well, you know, because we dream too, so why the fuck not? And it turns out it was very much exactly what I had thought it was. And I'm just, like, bitter about this now. Ford, you are a monster. She called you one. She was right. How the hell are you going to go out of your way? And he does go out of his way to make sure that the man who kills her is somebody that she slept with, that she trusted. And make sure to broadcast that shit, too. Like, you can't just have him sneak up on her. You can't just have it be a quick, like, whoop, surprise, bitch. No, it has to be a long, involved, maniacal, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen. Enjoy waiting for death. I'll just stand here and watch you fumble with your fucking cell phone for 5 minutes until you figure out that, yeah, I kind of thought of that. I figured that you might go for your phone. Wow, what a genius I am. Like, Ford, this was so unnecessary, the whole way that you did this, and how gruesome it is, the way that he smashes her head.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, maybe she's not dead, because I don't know anything ever anymore. It looks like she's dead to me, but if it turned out that, like, oh, he didn't completely kill her, I won't say that I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be like, yeah, okay, I'd buy that. But we already had somebody be like, oh yeah, Elsie's on leave today.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people are going to disappear at once and Ford's going to, like, think nobody's going to notice or care? Ford Ford's very confident, is what I'm saying. This is a man that I really want to see fail.
What does his failure look like?
A host that he thought he had control over killing him. A host that was like pretending to shut down when he said to shut down and shit. And then it was like, ha, psych. I'm still awake, motherfucker. That's the only thing I can think.
All right.
I don't know. It's a very cliched thing. But it just kills me. Like that last scene, it was hard to watch the first time. Like my nails were digging into my palms. I was just like, no. And her acting when he comes toward her and she's trying to be cool, but at the last second she like breaks. That was really hard to watch. And then right before that, she's still saying to Ford shit like, do you think the board will stand for this, bitch? Have you been listening at all? The board? What are you talking about, the board? You are in the basement of a building nobody knows about with the creator of this universe and a pet of his. And you're over here trying to talk about the board. Has it not occurred to you yet what's happening here? Run, bitch!
Yeah, she, it seemed like it took her painfully long to realize the danger she was in.
And it's like, this is kind of one of those things that I fault her, but at the same time, I feel like I could see even myself doing something this stupid, because being polite and like going with what authority is telling you is a really deeply ingrained thing. And it's one thing to like be thinking this doesn't seem right and be aware that there's something happening. And it's another thing to force yourself to act in a way that makes it clear to the other person that you don't trust them. Like, it's the kind of thing that, you know, women, and when they're feeling threatened by men, it's like, we can feel that threat and we can think to ourselves, this feels wrong, I need to get out of here. But we'll still be laughing and smiling and nice while our heart is pounding out of our chest. Right. Because we've just been so trained to keep up appearances that we don't want to offend somebody. Mm-hmm. So, like, I can kind of see in this moment, she might feel like this feels like a fucking trap, but pushing past your boss to sprint out of the building screaming for your life is a really tough thing to make yourself do. Right. When it probably has never occurred to her that she would ever be in a position like this where she needed to worry, especially with Bernard. Bernard the robot.
How is that settling? Is it, So you say you were kind of expecting a reveal that somebody on staff would be a host, right? Yeah. Because the show feels kind of like that is something we should be prepared for.
Right.
Do you think that's it? Or are you looking at everybody cross-eyed now?
Oh, I'm looking at everybody now. Like, I don't feel like anybody there is a real person anymore. I don't know.
So, and do you feel like this answers any previous questions you had, or does this just open up a million more questions?
I mean, it answers some. It answers the one, for instance, that I had been asking, which was like, why the fuck is Bernard not more concerned? Okay. That was the main thing that I couldn't understand, was just like, Bernard, dude, they're telling you that they're acting on grudges. And I actually kind of appreciated when they were doing that bullshit demonstration, which I very much felt was bullshit at the time. I kind of appreciated that she points out, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And that's also exactly what one of your people told you, dude. But then once you find out what's actually going on with him, it's much less satisfying, because then you're like, oh, well, he was just told to ignore that. Right. Or told probably that was coming, or God knows, maybe he set it up. I don't know anything anymore.
Okay. So you believe the idea about the acting on grudges?
I don't see. You can't ask me any questions, Rashawn. That's
right.
That's how I'm going to react every time. Is I'm just going to go. I'm going to be like fucking Maeve, who's looking at her prompts, and then just, and then I just shut down. That's what's going to happen.
All right, so let's talk about this episode.
Okay, let's do that. That seems safe.
So it opens with what we find out is a dream, but it's Bernard reading to his son Charlie in a hospital bed. Mm-hmm. And then Charlie looks like he's dying, passes out, and Bernard wakes up. And it is... Well, you know what? Let's talk about that. What are your feelings about this memory that we now know Bernard the host is having? Just part of his backstory?
Okay. This is okay, so I have moments, I'm very aware of the way stories are told lately because of me trying to write my own story. And there are times where something is so obvious that I'm almost like, all right, you know what? You need to pull back a little bit. Like, I get it. But then I realize that maybe it's not super obvious to everyone. And maybe I'm thinking it's obvious and other people haven't picked up on it at all. Or they think it's subtle. I don't know. But they're talking about... He's reading Alice in Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like... His son is like, you lost your place. The madman.
Mm-hmm.
And he reads this quote, if I had my own world, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And the little boy says, even me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Like, at first I'm thinking this is just the show being like, as long as man has written word, we have dreamed of creating our own universes. But really, it's the show being like, yeah, here's a planted memory that's really fucking purposeful, and we're basically telling you his son's not real. Hi. Did you get that? So this is one of those moments where when I first watched this, I was like, all right, Jesus, I get it. And then I rewatched it. I was like, nope, I did not get it. I did not get it at all. I gave myself way too much credit, and that was a whole other thing happening. So, yeah.
I'm sorry. Just really enjoying it.
This, yesterday I recorded on Dark Tower with Miles, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I stumbled onto a parallel in the story. I think that was a purposeful allegory to the division of races in of the bourgeoisie trying to pit people against each other and it working, and white people completely falling for it and then finding out too late, I've been bamboozled, but now you're dying. Whoops. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things that I was saying it, and as I said it, more and more seemed to be like, yeah, that's totally what this is. And then you reach a point where you're like, but is it? It almost comes around full circle where you're like, did they do this on purpose? Or is some of this an accident? If I asked them, I think it's on purpose. It seems too obvious. But then is it?
Mm.
I got myself questioning everything, is what I'm saying. So his son looks like he dies, and then Bernard wakes up. And it seems like they all just relive the worst moments of their fake lives.
It does seem that way, right?
Which is just a fucked up way to live.
Yeah, it begs the question. Well, they tell us early in the season that they have the host dream so that but snippets of past builds might, pop up. Mm-hmm. But it's always horrible shit. Like, nobody is remembering that awesome weekend those really cool people came to the park and you just hung out and had a lot of fun.
Yep.
Which, I just think is interesting that none of the hosts have good memories. And is it because just nothing good ever happens to them?
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is a distinct possibility. But, so we see Bernard and he's inspecting Hector. And we get a nice little shot of him with no clothes on, which was okay.
Yeah, I am a big fan. I could do with more of this just all around. And I love that it cuts to him and Bernard going, "Do you ever question the nature of your reality?" Right. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when Maeve asked Felix, how do you know? Mm-hmm. This is right here. This is one host inspecting another host, asking it, does it question its own reality? It's very like a mirror looking into a mirror, looking into a mirror kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
And he's showing him pictures of the outside world. So the pictures don't give us a lot of information about what the outside world is at this point in time, whenever this is supposed to be happening. It's like, it's fancy enough to almost be the future. Like, the trains look kind of funky, but they don't look like anything that could be in Europe right now, for instance. You know what I mean? Like, the design of the train is different than our design. Mm-hmm. And it lends itself to thinking like, oh, we're kind of in the future, but it's not like, Star Trek or whatever,
Right, yeah.
And Hector is just, doesn't look like anything to me.
Yeah, I'm just like, everything that's happening, it's making me like look at another thing. Like, Hector saying that makes me think of Dolores' dad. And the fact that it did look like something to him. Mm-hmm. Why did it? Why, though? Like, what the fuck was that, And then... he's asking the dude, have you seen Elsie? Too. And I'm like, you're the fucking one who grabbed Elsie, aren't you? I bet he was. But he couldn't have been, because he was upstairs. I don't know. Was he? Because he was talking to Teresa when she called and was like, it's Teresa! Mm-hmm. But then he leaves.
And the next scene.
Then some time has passed. I feel like by the time we see Elsie, she's like still looking at shit down there. And then gets grabbed. Right. So I don't know how far that spot is, if he could have gotten there, or if that was Ford.
Yeah, it's really hard to gauge exactly how much time has happened, because at one point it's like it's happening at the same time, because she calls him, she's already down there, he's in the room with Teresa, and then next time we see her, do we see him leave Teresa's room? I don't think we do. I can't remember if we see him walk out. I know we see him say, like, he kind of ends the conversation.
I thought he did.
I can't remember.
I thought we saw him leave.
We might have. I can't remember. And then somebody also, the same guy who tells him that Elsie's on leave, which Bernard is the boss, should know.
Yeah.
Also says that somebody upstairs wants that host when he's done.
Yeah, they do. I got a couple people who want that host. Guys. Yeah, that was funny. All right, so let's go to Dolores and William and Lorenzo?
Lawrence or
Alonzo.
Or Alonzo.
Alonzo, that's it. They're playing cards. It's the most Western-y moment ever. They're literally on a train packed with guns and explosives playing cards.
And I'm pretty sure they're playing poker because, of course.
And this is a... Okay, so... I got some mixed feelings about this because I don't know enough. But they're going through this territory, Ghost Nation territory. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is an invented thing, like not Ghost Nation, but like, is this threat? It feels super racist. I don't know if it's based on something legit or not. Do you know anything about this?
I don't.
Okay. And it has a real vibe like The Village. Have you ever seen that?
The M. Night movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Where they've put this like really, this huge danger on the periphery of the territory in order to keep people from wanting to go too far out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like a bunch of heads on pikes who I suppose have been scalped probably before being mounted. Gotta keep those. There's a lot of them. And they're all around the train tracks specifically, so as to be like, hey. And
these are the same tribe that we've seen in Maeve's flashbacks.
Right, yeah.
Which begs the question why a host would have been set up that far out if they're just to like kind of keep the perimeter of the parks kind of secure.
Right.
Like why plop a host down there just to be a victim? But then you think about how everything else in the park works and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Dolores is just there to kind of be a victim. So, you know, maybe if people stray out that far, you know, they'll engage with the Ghost Nation to protect the pioneer woman and her daughter or whatever, you know, who knows?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Not me. Who knows? Not me. End of message. So we cut back to Bernard trying again to locate Elsie. Searching. Unable to locate. He tries a couple times. He's not very happy with this situation. Yeah,
he seems concerned, which we don't really see on his face. You know, it's your point earlier. He never seemed very concerned.
That's very true.
You know, when he kind of goes to Teresa's apartment in the last episode, that's like the first time we see him kind of like, there's some shit that's going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm finally ready to say there's some shit going on.
Yeah, and he stops and like watches Teresa having a conversation with some guy in the hallway too. Mm-hmm. And there's a vibe when he looks at her that it feels like he is acting like he caught her doing something she's not supposed to do. But we don't know who she's talking to, that dude.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really for us to go on there. I just kind of got that vibe from him. She calls him Hale. And says that he's overlooking everything, but that's it, right?
Hale is the last name of Charlotte. So when she's telling Bernard about Hale, that's what she's talking about.
Because that guy had just walked away, so I thought she was referring to him. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, she doesn't tell Bernard anything about who that guy was. And it's possible Bernard knows who he is because they all work together, you know? But there's no way for us to know for sure if he has any idea what's going on there. The guy was dressed kind of all in black, like Stubbs.
Was he? I didn't even notice that. Okay.
But again, I don't know. He might have just had like a black shirt on. He might not have been like full security gear. But that's what I thought when I first saw him. And they have this kind of awkward conversation. This we're not having sex anymore conversation.
Right? Yeah, this is one of those like it feels really like she wants to say all kinds of stuff. And Teresa's tough to read. Even, you know, in her last moments, it's like, I don't want to say that I feel like she's in love with Bernard. I really don't get that from her. Mm-hmm. I think she cares about him.
I do too.
But I don't think it's love.
Right. I think she enjoyed the sort of intimacy that they had and valued him. But I don't think it's like love. Yeah. You know what I mean? It does really feel much more like circumstance. And they're just kind of in this place at the same time.
Yeah.
And she appreciates him being there, but if she were to leave tomorrow, it would just kind of be like, oh, I have to go now.
Right.
And she does end their affair pretty unceremoniously. You know,
Yes.
It didn't take her anything to cut it off.
Yeah, that's kind of my favorite part, to be honest, is that ending their relationship is not really that much of a hardship for her. It's not this huge, like, I really have to have a heart-to-heart and stop and think about what I want. No, there's no thinking about what she wants. This is her job. Whatever. I will put that aside. It's fine. No big deal.
Right.
It really doesn't feel like it's a struggle at all. And I kind of enjoy that that's not this major, like, there's, you know, the natural, like, weirdness between them because of what happened and because he clearly wasn't game to quit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a huge, like, plot revolving around, oh, God, should we, shouldn't we,
Yeah.
should we, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Thank you for not doing that show. So boring.
Yeah, we get that later with Dolores and William.
Right, yeah. Yeah, romance is one of those things that I just have very little patience for, and you've got to do it really, really well for me to feel invested in or interested at all.
Right.
It's not frequent. Because usually it does feel like it's just two people who just happen to be in the same place at the same time, and they're just like, oh, I guess we should go for it, right?
Trying to make it much more than it really is. And their conversation is kind of like very business heavy, and she's chiding him a little bit about his department and saying if they spent more time, you know, doing their job instead of being all up in her business.
Right.
But then it ends kind of sweetly because he asks how she's doing. And she kind of smiles, and she knows that she's okay. And then that's it. And she
and then she goes on to
goes up to see Charlotte, who is kind of busy, but not really.
She is making the biggest power play here.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
There's a scene in, what do you call it? House of Cards, where the First Lady feels like she's not being taken seriously, and so she forces this guy that she's having a meeting with to come into the bathroom with her while she pees and continue their conversation. And it's in a bathroom with multiple stalls, so he's not, like, in the bathroom with her. But it's still a really awkward thing that she's behaving as if is no big deal at all. And puts him in this strange circumstance that he's very uncomfortable with, and it's very amusing to watch. And this felt like that so hard.
That's
like,
really what this is.
She whips open that door, buck ass naked, completely unconcerned. Not only naked, like, to Teresa, but she didn't really check if there was anyone with Teresa.
Nope.
So, who knows, you know.
She just opens that door, and she doesn't cover him up. He's just on the bed.
Yep.
Like, with his hands, like, handcuffed to the headboard.
Yep.
And this whole scene is very much about her establishing her power. And it's also, I feel like, it's something that I've seen with male characters. You know, where they do this thing where it's like, yeah, I just got done fucking this girl. Come in, you know, we'll have a drink, you know. So to see it with a woman, and I thought was really kind of fun.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's we're not just treating him like an object. He's literally an object. I just turned him off.
She turns him off. And they hatch
and the
their
combo,
plan.
like, the thing where the opening the door naked, then she's also like, can I bum a cigarette?
Yeah.
And says, I can see why you took these up again. Just being like, yeah, I know all about you, bitch. And I'm naked in front of you and smoking your cigarettes and talking about your habits because I just know everything.
Yeah. And she says that she's a line. She's like, I like you, not personally, but I like you for the job.
Yes. And she says that she doesn't care about the hosts or the storylines. She says, it's our little research problem Delos cares about. Delos? Delos?
She
says it.
I think it's Delos.
That's where the real value is.
Yeah.
And due to a lack of foresight on part of one of my predecessors, 35 years of information, raw information, exists here, nowhere else. Ford has always ensured that. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this means. Like, when she's talking about raw information and the code, is she just talking about the code to control the hosts? Or is she talking about something like the code to create?
I think it's to create them. Like, they have no idea how all of this works, how the code works to build these things.
Okay.
And I imagine if they don't know how that works, then they can't use it to do anything else that they might own. You know what I mean? Like, you get the idea that this is a corporation. They probably have interest all over the world, you know, and they've got this practically, you know, billion-dollar idea that they can only use in the park. It's got to be very frustrating for them. And they are afraid that Ford can just wipe it all out.
Yeah. Which he would do.
Yeah, he would totally do that.
Like 100%. He doesn't give a fuck.
So, yeah, they're right to be afraid of that. And that's why I guess we find out here this is what was going on with the weird satellite link up. Mm-hmm. And why it's so important for them to get this information. So, Ford, at the end of the episode, knows about this meeting.
Right.
Did you think about that? Like, did it make sense to you how he knew about it?
From, I figure, the host that was in the room.
Right. So.
And I also just assume, like, there's cameras everywhere, too. Like, the host was here, sure, but I figured there's got to be... I just figure they're under surveillance all the damn time,
you know,
honestly.
It's funny because I thought the same thing, like, I went back and forth on it because I feel like the expectation of privacy is reasonable for people to think that they can, when they're in their own private quarters, that they're not being watched. Mm-hmm. However, a place like this that has, can locate people probably does have cameras everywhere. And if anything has got a camera, then Ford probably has access to it in some fashion. So how, you know, is there ever any time that anything is really private? Because that's one of the things is whenever the staff talks to one another, someone always seems to know something about the other person.
Yep. This is what I'm saying. Like, I just... And this is part of my problem with a lot of different shows that purport to be about super advanced technology, but then they don't get caught doing really obvious stuff. Mm-hmm. Is like the first thing that we as human beings do when we start to get our hands on technology is spy on each other. That's the first thing we do is surveillance stuff. We are paranoid motherfuckers. Because we are shady ourselves and assume everyone is shady. And we are usually right. And so it will always infuriate me that nobody seemed to be aware that they were being watched or concerned that they were being watched. It seems like it never even occurred to them. And I'm always just like, how did you not think of this? Really? And I appreciate in this show that people know everything all the time. But I don't appreciate that everyone seems to be surprised.
Yeah. So that was going to be my next question is I think that, so our question is for Charlotte, is she that not smart? Is she that stupid to have this conversation in front of a host in a room that could possibly be monitored? Or do you think it seems like kind of a rookie mistake, right?
I mean...
But she could also just not know how this stuff works.
That's my main thing, is that she's definitely got the feel of, like, this is a person who's genuinely arrogant. This isn't just, like, a put on of power or something like that. Like, so I don't think that she's setting up Teresa. I don't think that this is a big setup thing. I think she really did just fuck up. And I think it's because she doesn't understand. Really, what I think is that she underestimates Ford real bad. And that
people keep doing that.
I mean, he does play kind of a part, doesn't he? Like, when he's around everyone, he plays this sort of affable, oh, well, you know, I just like to experiment and see what happens kind of guy who's just like fucking around, and I'm, an accidental genius, you know? But, like, there's this scary thing going on with him that he manages to keep pretty much to himself. And he can, because the reason that you show people that you're scary is in order to keep them in line and keep them worried around you. But if they're not worried, you're going to find out a lot more. And if you have the tools for them to just get caught up by accident because they're careless, then you're going to find out a lot more then too. Yeah. So he has this in with these, right, with the hosts and with his, like, grandfatherly sort of attitude.
He is, unlike Charlotte, he doesn't need to do these displays of power. Right. I mean, we've seen him do it, you know. He did it with Teresa at the restaurant, but that was one person and for a very specific reason, you know. Yeah. He, when, later in this episode, you know, when they have sort of the confrontation and Bernard gets fired, he doesn't say shit. He doesn't say a single word. Like, if they were attempting to goad him, which kind of feels like that's what they were trying to do, it failed miserably, because he just stands. Yeah. He doesn't say shit about any of it. He plays his cards much closer to the vest than any of the other ones on the staff.
He's playing the long game.
Yeah, he's playing something.
Like, because everybody else is worried about immediate results for someone. You know what I mean? Like, they all feel like they've got to prove themselves right away to somebody else for whatever reason. Right. And he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. All he has to do is collect information and wait. Right. So he has all the fucking time in the world. Let them go run around and make fools of themselves while feeding him every last thing that he needs to know. Like, it really is kind of genius that he has managed to... He has still, I feel like, weirdly fooled... Fooling isn't the right word, because Teresa should have known better. And she still thought that Bernard was showing her something without the knowledge of Ford.
Right. She seems to have believed that their little demonstration was a success. She seems surprised when Bernard tells her, you know, it was transparent to anybody who's a real coder. Right. Like, if, you know, and my people are better than your people. You weren't going to fool me with that. And you didn't fool Ford. She seems kind of, you know...
Well, see, that's interesting, because what I was talking about was Bernard bringing her down to this place.
Well, that's what he tells her on the way.
Yes, but I mean, like, she thinks she believes that Bernard has found something shady that Ford doesn't know he's found.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you know, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree, yeah.
And so she's just like, she was at a meal where Ford demonstrated that he had control over what in total I think was easily 100 people that were in all different like areas, and he did it all without making any discernible movement that we could see. And he did it while telling her he knows all about Bernard. You would think this would impress itself upon her as a warning that this guy is capable of so much more than you ever understood. And yet she's still willing to follow Bernard down there and think that Bernard's like somehow getting one up on Ford.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Bernard's not, you guys aren't sneaking around. He saw you sneaking around before when you thought that you guys were being so sly and clever. What makes you think you can do it this time and that you're being sly and clever? That she just keeps she's making the same mistake again, right. And I feel like she should know better by now.
Well, that's what I mean too about the demonstration, and she seems surprised when Bernard tells her that they didn't fall for it. Like, why
right.
would she think that demonstration would fool him?
I mean, because his people told him about their concerns already, I guess.
Okay.
So she probably thought, well, we can make it look like something that he's already kind of aware exists or was warned might exist, and so he'll fall for it because of that. Not great planning still on her part. But yeah. All right. So I'm trying to get to the next section here.
We go to Maeve, I think.
Oh yeah. Bum 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 bum. And she has fucking had it. I love too that we see those guys shoot each other behind her again. Mm-hmm. So the thing that I said last time actually turns out to be exactly what it is that they just do that every day, and she's so bored of it. So she goes and shuts the player piano off, and goes over to the bar and waits for Clem, who comes over and yawns, and then she says her line while looking very surprised that she's saying her line. Mm-hmm. It's like she thought that the fact that she was aware of what was going on here would keep her from following the script, and it does not.
Yeah, it's like she can change the script when she turns the piano off, but then as soon as she opens her mouth, the words are just coming right out.
Yep.
You know, and you're right, she seems a little surprised by it. But once she's aware of it, she switches it again. It's like if she's not careful, she'll just fall right into the script.
Is that fucking life or what?
It kind of is a little bit.
Holy shit.
A little fucking bit.
That's kind of upsetting, to be honest. How we have our patterns, and we can be aware of our patterns. We can have a breakthrough in therapy, and somebody tell us, hey, maybe you keep yourself really busy because you don't want to deal with your emotions. And you're like, oh, shit. Oh, maybe you figured me out, and now it's solved, and I've got it.
Everything is different now.
And then you turn around and you're doing that exact same fucking shit, because knowing is different than doing different. Oh.
So, yeah. Show.
Movies lied to me. Movies told me that once I understood something, then it would just stop. Once I realized that I was making the same mistake, or once I realized that this is the thing that I really want and this is the goal that's important to me, movies told me that this realization would be followed by a montage and I would suddenly have my life together by the end of it. And that turns out, unbelievably, to not be the case.
All those 80s montages were lies.
I want to see someone's manager, because this is bullshit. I demand my montage.
With a really great sort of upbeat kind of song playing during the montage.
Oh my God.
I'm just getting her life together. Making it all work out.
I'm coming out. Yeah, some shit like that, you know.
So she flips it a little bit.
I just started to think about what my montage song would actually be. And you know what popped into my head immediately, which doesn't really make sense, but there it is.
What would I do without my baby?
I knew it was going to be Ja Rule. I knew it was.
Of course it's Ja Rule. That's the first thing that comes... That doesn't even make sense.
And when I thought it, I was like, that's a terrible idea. That doesn't go with what we're saying at all.
But
doesn't. Somehow I knew that's exactly what it would be.
I'm...
Ja Rule is not montage music.
Isn't he? What about the plinky calypso tin drums, steel drums? Boink, 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 boink. You know how they do that? Just have that be my montage. We don't even have to have Ja Rule in there. We could just have the boink.
Oh my
boink,
god!
Boink, boink in the background.
Your montage is all air horn music.
And somewhere, Lil Jon going, yeah! And me going, yes, Lil Jon, again, please. There's a Lil Jon song in one of my Zumba classes, and I can't tell you how pumped I get when that shit starts.
Oh my god.
I could be so tired. We could be like 40 minutes in, and she starts that song, and I'm on it. I'm on it. And there'll be women who are twice as in shape as me next to me flagging while we start our squats. But Lil Jon's telling me to get low. I'm getting fucking low. Listen, it's happening. Get on it.
Oh my god. Oh,
anyway.
Jesus Christ, that's funny.
All right, so where were we?
So
Maeve.
Clem starts telling her story because Maeve asked her for the first time that we see what are her nightmares about.
Right.
And she doesn't really say.
No.
But she goes into this thing about why she's working at the Mariposa and her family's farm and all this stuff. And then everything freezes.
Yeah.
And Maeve is like, what the fuck? And then she has to pretend like she's frozen because it's the tech people coming in for Clem. And Maeve grabs that knife.
She's
just
ready.
In case.
Yep.
It's about to go down. She's not sure. What did you think when they grabbed Clem?
I honestly didn't for a second think it was Maeve that they were coming for.
Okay. Did you understand why? Did you get why they were grabbing Clem?
No, I didn't realize that she was going to be their like blood sacrifice. Like even it like it occurred to me, but I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
So I just kind of like didn't really stop and think about it too hard because I didn't know what that looked like.
Right.
But I didn't. It just didn't make any sense for them to be coming for Maeve now. Why would the techs have caved and told what was going on with her now?
Yeah.
So I get what they were doing, and I could totally I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so smart, I didn't, because I could see being fooled by this and thinking I totally do. But it just felt wrong. And of course, there's also the aspect of Clem is a real sympathetic character in that it feels like she's just trying her best most of the time and it seems really good-hearted. But they also have her just tell her whole story here. And it's the first time they had her do that. And that's also a dead giveaway that they're about to kill somebody or get rid of somebody. That's a real Walking Dead move right there.
Now,
so,
it's interesting that Clem is the blood sacrifice?
I guess it's really supposed to be Bernard. But I was thinking of it from Maeve's point of view.
Right. Okay. And from there, because we just see them walking Clem out, and we see Maeve ready to cut somebody's fucking throat if she has to. Yep. And then the scene goes right to Dolores and William. And What is in your mind about where this is going with these guys?
I've got no clue. I really don't, because William is... I don't know where he fits. Like, if anything, I could see William being like Dolores's blood sacrifice for something. Like, I'm talking out of my ass here. Because I don't know what that means. But, like, there's something about the way this is going that makes me feel like Dolores is going to have to, like, prove herself to somebody or do something, and or she's using him maybe to, like, help her get to where she needs to go. And this whole thing is, like, a really calculated ruse. And I'm not sure that Dolores is even aware of that, because there's clearly, like, two settings. There's Dolores setting, and then there's fucking Killmonger setting. And I don't know if Killmonger is ever in control of Dolores, or if it's Dolores and Killmonger totally separate and she is not aware of the other.
Okay.
But there's something about this that makes me feel like William is in for a world of hurt. I feel like things that are very bad are going to happen to William. I don't know what that is or what. I feel concerned for him, because he's too proud of himself for, like, finally breaking out of whatever shell he was in. Mm-hmm. And that can't last, right? Good things don't last in shows like this.
Right. Like, it starts off with her talking about this life that she feels like she should be living. You know, that's not the life that she's known, and she doesn't want to go back. And he does the William thing. He's like, well, you know, I've got a woman waiting for me out there, and, you know, a whole life laid out for me. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he's going to keep being sort of the white hat. Yeah. He's going to keep being the William that we've gotten to know. And but then, in a flash of, what did you call it? Realization.
Lust.
About how your life could be different. He had a little mini montage of his own.
Yeah, his patterns.
Right? He recognizes his patterns, and he says, fuck that, and he goes after her. And then they kiss.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he says the thing about what he thinks about this place. You know, how they say it's going to show you who you really are, but it doesn't show you who you really are. It shows you your deepest part of yourself.
Right.
Or something along that line. I think I butchered that line, but...
Yeah, I'm coming up to it, so I'll tell you in a second what it actually is. But, yeah, this was like... So, yeah, I don't know what to think about this, because I get what he's saying. He says that he spent his whole life pretending. Mm-hmm. But then he says, I've built a life, and it's a good life, the life that I've always wanted. And I'm like, did you? Mm-mm. You wanted a life where you just got to pretend?
He built...
Like, that seems terrible.
Yeah, it's this thing like that. But you know what, though? It seems very real, though. Like, you decide at some point what you want your life to look like, because you think that's what's going to make you happy. And then you work really hard to get that thing. And then, whoops, what do you know?
Right.
Doesn't really make you happy. It's not what you really want at all. But you never really investigated what was important to you. You just thought that was the thing. So, yeah, he is kind of facing who he really is for what seems like the first time. And what is so common is we do that. We take this sort of journey. Mm-hmm. By using someone else, you know? Like, we put the sort of the burden of facing who we are on the shoulders of someone else. Someone else has made us see, you know, that kind of thing. I didn't know who I was before I met you. that thing.
Yeah, he says, like, you've unlocked something in me, and she says, I'm not a key.
I love that line.
And I was like,
really
that
love
is
that.
the best line.
Yeah.
I'm not your manic pixie dream maiden.
I did not know you were going to end that with maiden.
I was trying to think of something appropriately Western. Lass? Manic pixie dream lass? But, yeah, so the two of them are clearly about to do it. And they've got pretty good chemistry.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they were able to pair up people that I actually feel like want each other.
And I said this...
it can be really flat sometimes.
I said this earlier in the series of recording, but I really like this actor, too.
Yeah, he's really good. All right, so let's talk about this scene with fucking Clem, because I hate it. It's just really upsetting. She's, saying her line about how there's not much of a rind on you, and then this guy just beats the hell out of her. And it's really upsetting. It's hard to watch, and this actress is so good at acting not only hurt, but bewildered.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah, and why are you all standing around letting him do it? Like, why isn't anybody helping me?
Yep.
Yeah, so this whole thing, though, this whole big production, I mean, all the bigwigs are standing around. Teresa's there. She's got Charlotte's there. And they are just really like, well, we figured out what's been going on. And I don't know why you idiots didn't see it and didn't take care of it. Did you get that the guy with Clem was a host?
No, not until they, stopped it, and they both stop. Yeah, no. Which I did feel like undermined their point a lot. Because having her be able to hurt him doesn't really mean much when he is also a host. Like, you're supposed to believe that the host can, somehow really tell when a person is a person and can't go too far. And
here they tell us that really it's just the setting.
Right, and that I just kind of was like, I guess, okay. The one thing that really got it for me was when What's-His-Face goes in there and tells her to power down. And she doesn't. And starts to go after him. That was the only one where I was kind of like, huh. And for all I fucking know, he's also a host. I don't know. Who the fuck knows at this point? But, yeah. I just felt like using this guy as their demo didn't feel meaningful. But this is, kind of a poorly set up situation, as Bernard says later, that they just didn't do a great job, and that if the guys were that good at coding, they'd be working for him in the first place. So I also really enjoy that we see her do that reverie motion that we've seen her do before, where she touches her lips, and it's because she's got blood on her lips.
That's why
we've seen that reverie before.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's where the reverie came from initially, but it's weird to see it here in that context. You know?
I like the idea that that is what it is. If it's supposed to be a reaction to some kind of faint memory that they're not aware of, then that's really what it is. Because you got to figure this isn't the first time somebody's bloodied their nose.
Yeah.
It's a really nice detail, I think.
And I'm sure that they did that on purpose to try and really make it apparent to Ford that that's where this behavior was coming from, because that's their whole argument, is that the reverie's code was not tested enough. But I like that as a little thing for the audience as well. So yeah, this turns into so Bernard, you're fired. And it's a really upsetting little moment because Bernard does that thing you do when something is so awful that you can't believe it, where he laughs. Yeah. And looks around for the joke.
Yeah.
Oh, that was rough.
I like that Ford, who, again, doesn't say anything throughout this whole little performance. Clem really fucks this guy up, too, I just want to say.
Yeah, she does.
And I kind of really appreciated it.
You can hear bone breaking.
Right? Even though this guy probably didn't do anything to deserve... Well, he did, because he just beat the shit out of her. So, yeah, he kind of had that coming. But, Ford keeps looking at Bernard and, kind of like, are you, like, it feels when you first watch it like he's looking at Bernard like he's almost curious or worried Bernard is going to say something.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the episode, we understand that was never going to happen, and he wasn't worried at all. But Ford's face during this whole thing, he just does a really good job of kind of looking like, I don't know what's going to happen next either, guys. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen next.
See, like, I felt like Ford's face was, oh, this bitch. Like, the expression on his face is one of, I'm gonna have to deal with your ass. And I think he's thinking that about Hale. Not about Teresa. He deals with Teresa, I would think, in his estimation, very easily. She, convince her to go downstairs with somebody that she trusts. Boom, done. I don't know how he deals with this other woman who has cooked up this entire thing and apparently has fooled other people in the room with it. And I don't know that he can just kill her. I don't know how that works. Like, how many people can you just make disappear before everyone starts to look up and be like, hey, that's weird. All these women are vanishing. But yeah, I don't know. I got the feeling in that scene that he knew that was bullshit and that he was trying to assess the danger.
Okay.
That because the camera really zooms in on his face at one point when he's staring at her. He's almost smiling, like he's like impressed or something.
There's a thing he does when they say to Bernard that he's fired, where Bernard looks at him and he looks down.
Yeah.
And then he looks back up. And you're right, he does do kind of a smirk, but he doesn't have any other reactions. He doesn't protest Bernard being fired.
No.
But you're right, there is a very long stare at the end where he's staring at someone, but the camera doesn't follow his stare.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I just really assumed he was looking at her. Because of the expression on his face, I felt like. Because it's, like I said, it feels like he's impressed a little bit. Like he just didn't expect to have another obstacle to deal with.
Right. Well,
and it's not welcome or anything. Like this isn't a game to him, but I'm sure having somebody who is a worthy adversary is probably like a nice change. But
then at the end of the episode, well, he's mostly talking to Teresa about herself though, when he's just like everyone, he talks about his relationship with the board, and it doesn't sound like he is impressed with them at all. He says that every once in a while they test it and he has to show them who's boss. He's done it before. He'll do it again. It's not really that big of a deal.
Right.
Which is almost like, well, if it's not that big of a deal, why are we getting rid of Teresa? Or maybe this is just how it always plays. Maybe you always have to get rid of the Teresa person.
That's what I was wondering. If like, is the board low-key aware that he's a murderer?
Well, that's my question, right? Like, if you have this battle that keeps coming up where you have to keep showing them not to fuck with you, like, how many people have you bashed against the wall?
Right.
And why does the board just keep hiring someone new to come and take the job?
Yeah.
It's like the Defense of Dark Arts job.
Oh my God.
Like, who is still taking this job?
That's so funny. I love that.
So then we go back to William and Dolores, who I was kind of bored with them. I don't mean to be.
This is what I'm talking about. When I say I find romance really boring, this is the kind of thing I mean. And I don't, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault at all. She's amazing. I really like him. This thing that they're doing with their relationship feels, I think, well, maybe I could ask you, because this show is doing some really interesting things we haven't seen before, does it seem weird that this thing with William and Dolores is like almost overly typical? Like almost a cliche?
That's what makes me think that he's being played. You know, like when Logan says, "Oh, I get it. They put something in your path for you to give a shit about." I think he's fucking right. I think that that's true, but it's not the park officials orchestrating this. It's somebody else who like needs William for some reason. And if it's the person that Dolores is heading towards, or if it's Dolores herself, I don't know.
Okay.
But I think Logan is right. And I don't know. But yeah, this scene, because I'm clicking around to try and get to the point. Because they wake up and she's saying, like, if you regret anything, I understand. And he kisses her deeply.
Yeah.
And is like, no, I do not regret
No regrets.
And he says that he's never felt this way before with any woman. Which I'm like, I would look at that. That feels a little bit like a self-burn. But okay.
We're going to let him have it. He's caught up in the moment. We're not going to look too closely at that. And then this is when they get ambushed by some Confederados, which seems like a different group of guys. They're all in the same uniform, but they're not like the guys we met at Pariah, I don't think.
No, it seems like they like sent a telegram.
Right, I was wondering like how'd they get that word out, But
yeah.
So there's the big scene. They send out the fucking nitro-filled Slim, which was really creepy.
Honestly, I had forgotten that he was filled with anything for a minute. Like when he sends him out, I was like, "What's this? Did they send a messenger to him and he killed him?" And then I was like, "Wait, brain, catch up. What is this?" And then he blows up, and I'm like, "Right, that's it." He doesn't blow up enough, though.
No, not enough to do.
It just startles them and like distracts them.
Yeah,
for
it gives
a
them like a
second.
mild distraction, and they try to make a run for it. And it's a chase scene. And it's really, not super interesting, but whatever.
I'm like low-key mad they like probably blew up that horse.
I didn't even.
That's fucked up.
I didn't even think of that. Well, the horse wasn't real.
mean.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's a cartoon robot horse. But yeah,
And
this chase is kind of dull.
yeah,
though.
and
I agree.
William has to. He saves her. She falls off her horse. He swings back around. He saves the day, and they are making their getaway with El Lazo and two other nitro-filled corpses that he's just got slung across the backs of horses.
Right?
Because he's really trying to get across the border to his people. And she sees the scene that is like the thing that she was drawing in the earlier scene. And this is the place. This is it. And they break with Alonzo, and they're going to go, I guess, down to where this river is. Because this is where she feels like she needs to be.
I've got some problems with this. Well, first of all, we have the Deus Ex Indians jumping down and killing everybody on their tail for them, which is real convenient. And then Alonzo's like, all right, you want to come with me? The guy with the horses and the food and the packs of supplies and water and
They're like, we'll be fine.
They're just gonna walk on down in there with nothing. They literally don't even have like a backpack. They've got their clothes. They're gonna freeze. The desert gets cold at night. It gets very cold. FYI. And does William know how to hunt? Come on. Give me a break. Like, does he think that he's going to be able to be like, hey, park people? Yo, can we get a couple of T-bones over here? Big potato on the side?
I think you know what? That's a good question. I guess maybe as a guest, he just doesn't have to worry about his comfort, that he'll be fine. I don't know. I mean, and as far as Dolores goes, I don't know if hosts think about that sort of stuff at all. But yeah, William seems very comfortable that, like, no, this is not a life-threatening situation where I'm just going to wander into the desert with no supplies, and I'm, you know. Right.
So yeah, this has me side-eyeing him pretty hard. And I don't know where, like, is this where the maze is? Is the maze real? Is anything real? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I give up. All right.
And then Lonzo just is like, nobody knows what's out there because nobody ever comes back. And William's like,
and he says, bye, suckers.
And he's, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just like, yeah, we're going to go. We're going to go down there and it's all going to be fine.
All right. So let's go to Maeve and Felix. Felix has a partner who is not in on this shit that he has to get rid of as soon as he can. Mm-hmm. I gotta wonder, the woman who plays Maeve, she's gotta be freezing her ass off.
It feels like it would be very
scenes,
chilly.
Right?
Yes, I agree.
She's laying on a metal table buck naked. Metal is always cold. It's always cold. It doesn't matter how long you've been laying on it for. It, like, doesn't warm up. It's like marble that way. I just can't. As an actress, this must suck so bad. But yeah.
And he warns her, too. He's like, you've only been topside less than 24 hours. You can't keep coming back like this.
Yeah.
And she doesn't give a fuck about his advice.
Nope.
She did not ask for it. And she wants to know where Clem is.
Yeah, because she made sure to die so that she could check up on her. And she demands to get brought to where Clem is being decommissioned.
Which is crazy.
Oh my god. The fact that they're both so, like, they being him and Sylvester are so scared of her that they'll just do stuff. I'm like, you guys know you could just end this by telling literally anybody about this, right? But they both are convinced that this 90-pound woman is too much for them. But basically what they're doing, I guess, is a lobotomy. Mm-hmm.
They had said in the performance that all of these hosts were going to just basically be put out of commission. They're, going to get everything wiped. And... Yep. It does look just like a lobotomy, right? Right up through the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is still, I can't believe, a thing that we used to do. But,
I know.
Here we are.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. That's a different podcast.
Right.
And Teresa is upstairs monitoring this, which seems a little like overkill. But, you know, okay.
I thought that was a little weird myself, but sure, that's fine. Gotta have her there, I guess.
And there's a shot of, like, blood coming out of Clem's nose one last time, but she doesn't wipe it up this time. So it's just like, oh, okay. And Maeve watches them do this, and she looks horrified.
Yeah, she almost starts crying.
Yeah. And... it's like she understands exactly what she's seeing, but, you kind of wonder, like, how could she?
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it's them operating on her friend who has no idea what's happening, which, no matter what they're doing to her, is a pretty horrifying
that's true.
concept on its own.
Yeah. And then we get to where everything goes crazy pants.
Yeah. So Bernard comes over and is like, hey, Teresa, I think there's something wrong with these one. Ford's explanation only bolsters my hunch. The ability to deviate from program behavior arises out of the host's recall of past iterations. So basically, he's saying, I think your bullshit display was actually not entirely wrong, even though you guys were total liars and it was completely transparent what you were doing. And he says, I think that they were on the verge of some kind of change. And she's like, I'm going to put my hand on your arm right now so that you believe that I care about people. And it's just, it's tough because I believe that Teresa cares about Bernard, but she's being so painfully manipulative and is, I think, aware that she's doing it. Because there are some people who are manipulative and they don't even realize because they're in denial about it themselves. And I think it's with her very calculated and purposeful, and she is aware of it.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's kind of hard to watch a little bit. And they get in this elevator, and then we move back to Felix and Sylvester.
Yeah. And they are like little kids. And who's gonna tell Mom we broke Mom's favorite thing? Right? You tell her. No, you tell her.
She looks so mad.
And they're just sputtering and trying to apologize, and Sylvester's like, I didn't want to do it, but if I didn't, someone else would have done it, and I was really just trying to protect you. And she just looks like she could just murder everybody.
Yep. Yeah, when he's like, I did it for you, and she's like, oh, you're always doing things for other people. Yeah. Oh my God. They have her in one of those, like,
whatever their uniform
overcoats
is.
That they wear. Yeah. Which I just keep wondering, like, what if somebody walks by and sees this? But, and then we get the awesome, if you don't do this, I will kill you. And he's like, well, you know what'll happen to you. And she's like, hey, you know what? Here's the thing about being a host. I die all the time. I have died like 7 times in the last 3 days. Not a big deal for me. It's fine. Yeah. I'm really good at it, actually. How many times have you died?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh my God. That was some good shit, man.
And she says the thing like she's always been a survivor, but surviving is just another loop. And again, like life, stop telling me about myself.
Right.
And one of the things he says to her about them killing is that he says everything about you is made to keep you here, including the skin on your back.
Yeah.
Which, for the show's sake, what do you think about, what do you think that means?
I figure she, goes dead when she passes some boundary point, probably.
Could they exist in the world? I mean, there's no way for us to know. They could just, like you said, power down.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that's just a smart precaution to take. You don't let bumper cars work outside of the bumper car arena.
Right.
So that
How
people
awesome
can
would
just
that
go
be?
driving off. That'd be nuts. You have those little electric car racetracks. You can't just go flying off and into the sunset. So, and there's that other great line too, where she's like, "I thought you were gods at first, and now I realize you're just men, and I know men."
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah. The Maeve scenes are pretty fucking awesome.
She good.
Yeah. So Bernard is escorting Teresa to show her this really important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
she's like asking if he's told anybody else, and he's like, "Well, who would I trust? I thought I could trust
Yeah.
you, for instance."
Burn.
This whole thing, right?
And she's like, I'm not gonna let you judge me. And she, he tells her he knows she was the spy. She doesn't deny it. So you were thinking that maybe she had been set up, but it turns out it was really her.
Yeah, it was really her.
And she's not sorry about it at all. And
now it like makes sense because I couldn't figure out why. I was like, it could be espionage for another company, but it being espionage for themselves was a weird thing that hadn't really occurred to me. That
because
Ford has a chokehold on all this information.
Right, like you just assume that whoever owns the company can just come in and see whatever they want to see.
Right.
Which, in retrospect, after everything we've learned about Ford up to this point, it completely makes sense that they wouldn't be able to see anything.
Yeah.
But when you come into the show, you just kind of assume that that's not even an option, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Bernard says to her in response that, do you think I would let him destroy everything? And then, which is particularly painful when you realize later what Bernard is, like Bernard the host thinks that he is, like we all do, thinks he's in control of anything, but he's so serious, like he really means it. Do you think I would let him destroy all of this? You don't get a say.
And then she's like, well, I don't remember seeing this on the survey, this house. Well, that's because we have hosts do all the surveys, and they can't see this house, even if they're staring right at it. And right after he says that, she says, what's behind this door? And he says, what door? And I was like, motherfuckers.
When I saw, I had suspected that Bernard was a host probably around episode 5. But for different reasons, and those reasons haven't come up yet for me and you.
Okay.
But when I got this confirmation, I yelled. I was so fucking tickled, and but still like really surprised too, because of this fucking show.
Right.
And and it's it's several minutes. Well, maybe not a whole several minutes, but just that line, that what door, the whole...
Yeah, you're meant to marinate in that for a bit.
Yeah, it was so fucking good. This reveal is so good. So they come in. She doesn't even react to him saying that.
Right.
And I guess she's already on the job of trying to see what's being hidden, right?
I think that it's also he has his back to it, so she's writing it off as like, oh, he hasn't turned and seen that. I think it's just a simple, like,
It's not until he hits it doesn't look like anything to me, when he's looking at the picture of himself, being sort of like the diagram or whatever of his host self. And it's a really good shot too when she's looking at them. First one is like the little boy, and then she sees Dolores, and then she sees Bernard, and her. There's this slow kind of like camera zoom in of her face, and then Ford shows up.
Yep. Yeah, and it's awful because he says, like, their lives are blissful. They can't see the things that would hurt them. But clearly Bernard's putting something together here for a second. And he moves past it later and forgets, apparently. But there's still a moment of, no, I don't understand. No, I can't be one.
Yeah.
Like, he's not completely out of it. It's just, he's made to forget it. I'm surprised this hasn't been a part of his dreams. Oh, man.
Yeah, the him, he's, my wife, my son, the burial, I was a father. He's running through the whole, which is sort of just his script. Mm-hmm. And then Ford is like, that's enough, and boop.
Yep.
And
yeah, and Teresa's like, did you make him fuck me? And he's like, no, that was your guy. If you think back, you initiated all that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's this. This is a really hard scene to watch.
It is.
It's really uncomfortable. Because, well, for a lot of reasons, for the obvious, because it's really painful to watch Bernard kind of be faced with this and have him not be able to understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. And then watching Teresa realize the magnitude of this, and having to kind of stand there and listen to Ford too as he's talking about whatever he's talking about.
And I'm realizing now, like, she doesn't ask him who he's building in that room because there's somebody being built.
There is.
And I'm like, that's got to be Elsie, right? Like, you just build a new Elsie and then you just put her back.
It's a pretty good plan.
I don't see that anybody would suspect a thing ever. Ever.
Right?
Why would they?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked up.
So,
And I guess he could do the same thing with Teresa, but...
Like what we were saying earlier, like what happens, like if he sounds like this is not a position, it's his first time in this position. Right. But yet, there's not any real alarm bells that have ever gone off. Yeah. So maybe this is why and how.
I'm really like, the main thing that gets me about, well, alright, we'll get there. So... He says something about how they're free under my control, and she's like, but they're not under your control. He brought me here. I'm like, bitch, hello? Oh my God, how thick can you be? He wandered down here after you saw this, cool as a cucumber, gloating over the fact that this was all a setup, and you think that this was... Not on purpose. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Girl, she is clinging to scraps. It's pathetic and sad, and I was embarrassed for her. Yeah. And she really does have, like, a look on her face.
For a second.
Of defiant pride.
Yes, for a second.
Like, she really thinks. Yeah.
He says the thing about the board, and he's like, I think they enjoy the sport of it, and this time they sent you.
Yeah.
And, that's when her face, at first, she's kind of like smug and, I'm on to you and the board's never going to take this. Mm-hmm. And slowly she's starting to realize that she's fucked up. She's got him fucked up.
You done goofed. And that's when she says, do you really think the board will stand for this? Right then. And I'm watching her right now say it and I'm just like, oh, lady.
Yeah.
He says... The board will do nothing. Our arrangement is too valuable for them. They test me every now and then. Ew.
Yeah. And later,
what does that even look like?
She's like, is this what happened to Arnold?
Mm-hmm.
And
he's like, oh no, Bernard wasn't here then. And I'm like, you know that's not what she meant, you son of a bitch. He doesn't actually answer the question. He's just basically like, oh no, Bernard did not kill Arnold. Well, fucking duh. Thank you. Of course.
So, what do you think of Bernard not having been there when Arnold was around?
I mean, what do I think of anything, Sean? Have we talked about this yet? Yeah. Powered down. I don't fucking know. Is he Arnold? Yeah, that's it. He wasn't there when Arnold was around because Arnold was around, and now that Arnold's not there, he's there because he's Arnold. That's right?
Sure. I like the I really appreciate the confidence you had, though.
Oh, God.
Man. How about when she says to him, you're playing God. And he's like, no, you're the ones who are playing God.
Why can't we all play?
I feel like between the two, it's Ford that's playing God. I mean,
yes.
You know. He's like, I just wanted to tell stories. Did you?
Maybe that's all God wanted. You don't know. They want to make a buck. I'm pretty sure God isn't interested in that.
Oh, God.
You can literally manufacture money.
Right, if that was important to him, he would just make it.
Yeah.
And then they just leave her there slumped on the floor.
That's the main thing. That was what I had been going to start saying, and then I was like, all right, let's get to that.
Man.
But the fact that they just leave her there is the thing that kind of gets to me more than anything in this scene. Well, first of all, there's the deliberation with which Bernard removes his necktie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is a mess, and I hate it.
It's very,
and there's
efficient, you know?
He's just, going to make sure that this gets done.
Like he's getting ready to move a sofa or something.
Yep. And the hurt when he comes at her.
Yeah.
She just looks really like, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Like he's in control of his actions and just ignoring what they had together, you know?
It's only been like a minute and a half since she found out that he's not a real boy, you know? It's just like her brain doesn't really get a chance to really absorb everything that's happening and is about to happen. And then it's over.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Like that's...
I mean, whether or not you know he is real or not, it's still the face of somebody.
Yeah.
That you cared about and slept with.
Yeah.
Like
she's talking to him like, Bernard, no. Even though she just learned that he's not, you know. She's still reacting to, and it's completely normal, I think, and human for her to behave that way. I
really, I was about to be like, can you imagine being killed by somebody that you trusted like that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, most women.
Yeah, how about that?
Most women who are murdered by somebody that they know.
Yep.
The vast majority, in fact.
That is true. That is true. And they don't get the consolation of, knowing that, it was just a machine.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Hey! Guys, want some uplifting shit? You're in the wrong place. You came to the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker.
So, there were some pretty big moments. And we only have 3 episodes left.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is going fast, baby. And then we're going to start our reread of Goblet of Fire. We're going to have some whiplash.
Yeah, I think we will.
So, quite a change in topic there. Man, but yeah. But we didn't really why does he just leave her there? Why do they just leave her there? Do they have scarab beetles that just come in and eat the body? What the fuck happens to her? Why not just have Bernard? I guess he doesn't want Bernard to have blood all over his clothes because he has to return to work and act normal. But I wonder if killing her will make any impression on his brain. Will he remember this? Because she actually mattered to him in any way? I wonder.
I don't know. Well, I do know.
You shut your mouth, you know it all. 5 points from Gryffindor for being an insufferable know-it-all. We have 6 reviews on this show so far, BT Dubs.
Oh.
We were having a problem there for a while with the servers for iTunes weren't working, so I couldn't get new reviews to load, but it's finally been fixed. It took a couple weeks. I was kind of surprised at how long that took. But we have 5 stars from Switzerland by U2 The Who. I'll follow these 2 anywhere, even to Westworld. I first came across the Unspoiled podcast when I was trolling the internet for the Wire content. I subsequently followed Natasha and Rashawn to Harry Potter because how could one resist listening to the unspoiled unicorn that is Rashawn discovering Hogwarts and the like? She didn't even know there was a Ron and a Hermione, you guys. I binged watched all of The Leftovers and loved it so very much, just so I could live through it again as Natasha was making her way through the series. Now they are covering WestWorld, a show that I find to be mediocre at best. Haha. And still, I am all
awesome.
in. If there's anyone who could make me excited about WestWorld, it's these two hosts.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you, you two the who.
That's a great name, too.
5 stars, the best yet. This one's from Krista. Hi, Krista.
Hey!
She says, I've only gotten to listen to one episode so far, and it's already my favorite Unspoiled podcast. These two are fantastic together as always, and having a show with as many layers as WestWorld will allow for 2-hour-long shows easily, and that is what I would like. Please and thank you. She wrote in all caps and ended it with bated breath.
Aww.
5 stars, The Dynamic Duo by Earn8427 from the U.S. I'm thoroughly obsessed with WestWorld, so I was thrilled when my 2 favorite podcast hosts announced they were going to cover it. The premise is simple. One person, the delightful Rashawn, has seen the show, and the other, the always real Natasha, has not. Natasha gives her unspoiled, get it, opinions and theories 1 episode at a time with Rashawn as her guide. I cannot wait to continue hearing Natasha's predictions on this twisty-turny show, and I consider it a privilege to be a fly on the wall for their riveting chemistry and discussions.
Thank you.
Ern. 5 stars from Somnium36 from the U.S. So good. I've been waiting so long for Natasha to cover WestWorld, and I'm so thrilled the time has finally come. Her rapport with Rashawn is awesome as always, and I love her predictions for what's going to come next. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, Somnium.
You.
I think that's Megan Tolentino, if I'm not mistaken, but I may be wrong about that. 5 stars, DC Sarah from the U.S. Love. I proudly finished WestWorld about a week after starting it. This podcast is a treat that lets me go back and savor the elements of the show I didn't pay much attention to the first time through. I can't wait to see how Natasha reacts to certain twists and turns, and I'm amazed by Rashawn's ability to avoid revealing spoilers during in-depth conversations. And lastly, 5 stars by Puppet Carly from the United States. Gal Pal Solidarity. She starts it off. Oh, I love you two so much. Cry emoji, heart with arrow emoji. I missed your voices and your witty commentary. I love that you can use emojis in reviews. I didn't know that. Also, I was waiting for y'all to mention a certain scene, and it never came. What do you think that Bernard whispered in Abernathy's ear when he put him in cold storage in the first episode? Ooh. Did he whisper, "It's okay, bro. I know how it feels"? Did he say, "I'm going to miss you so much. I love you"? Did he say, "Thanks for starting off this whole horrible snowball of chaos and terror"?
My money's on the third one.
Did he say, "Ford sends his regards," and then stab him repeatedly? I don't know, Puppet Carly, but thank you for your review. Thank you, DC Sarah, for your review. You guys are awesome. It's delightful. We're a fairly new show, and to have 6 reviews already is lovely. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And if you haven't left a review already, guys, you should check that out and maybe do that, because just saying, it's helpful and it's free. You can do it for free. I mean, it doesn't get much better than supporting a show that you really like for nothing. Mm-hmm. So maybe you should get on that. It's just, that's all I'm saying. And that's it for reviews. Okay, cool. Did I do new patrons? Do I do that on this show? I can't keep track, Rashawn. What do I do? What is my name? What is this show called? Is it Unprepared? I'm pretty sure it's called Unprepared. All right, so let's say hi to new patrons. We have Ashley Munetzi, Rachel, Luis Alfonso Villaseñor Olvera, Abby Rosales, Kate Miles, Jolie Sturm. Oh no, Jolie's been a patron for a minute. I know your name, Jolie. Never mind. And Daniela Scott all became patrons. Welcome to you guys. Thank you all so much for being patrons. I love you so dearly. Make sure to register for the Unspoiled Patrons Only Facebook page, which is super active. Also, a warning to those of you who are patrons already, check your messages, because some of you, I have about 50 people that are showing as declined, and I send out a message every time, but I think that for a lot of people, when I send them a message, it goes to their spam email, because there are a ton of people who have been declined for almost a straight year, and I don't feel like that's on purpose, probably. So, you know, if you vaguely remember becoming a patron at one point and you're like, yeah, I wonder what's going on with that, there's a chance you may just be declined for months and months. And if you can't be a patron, that's totally fine. But it's much easier for me to manage my patrons list if people just unsubscribe rather than letting themselves go declined for months at a time. So, do me a favor and check up on your account. Make sure if you have been declined and you can't be a patron to just unsubscribe entirely, and you can resubscribe whenever you want. That's fine. And if you just need to update your information and get current, make sure to do that, because I'm going to be culling people from the patrons group soon who are not paid up and current, because I have to keep that patrons only group patrons only, baby, or else what's the point? Am I right? Am I right? I'm right. I think that's it. Anything you want to add, ma'am?
I can't wait for the next episode.
I hate you. Shut up. All right. Yeah. Oh, you know what's the one thing that I wanted to mention? Guys, you should all subscribe to my newsletter. And I've got very mixed feelings on this, because on the one hand, it's super important. I want you to be a subscriber. On the other hand, I looked today and my MailChimp says that I had like a 3% open rate on the one that I just sent. I have about 200 people on my mailing list right now, and apparently like 10 of them opened the email that I sent. So maybe it's not super effective, but y'all, I have shared news on every available platform, and I still get the same goddamn questions over and 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 over again. And I don't know what to do, because I want y'all to have your right information, but I also don't want to spend the entire day answering the same question repeatedly. That's not a good use of my time. That's not a good use of anything. It's not a good use of the internet. It's not a good use of information. It's not a good use of your time. It's just all around bad. It's bad. So, subscribing to the newsletter and actually reading it when it arrives circumvents the stupid-ass algorithm that Facebook has that prevents people from seeing stuff. It circumvents the whole thing on Twitter where unless you were there when I posted it, you most likely won't see it unless you go to my page. And, you know, it circumvents the whole, I'm going to tune out during the
like they're doing
section,
right now.
which is what you motherfuckers are doing right the fuck now, isn't it? You sons of bitches. Listen up. You motherfuckers. Get your goddamn thumb off of that jump forward button. Open your motherfucking ears and listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Subscribe to my newsletter.
I like to say, for the record, I am always up to date on all the news. Except for the books that I'm supposed to read.
Always up to date on everything except that one thing.
Oh, well.
You know.
I expected a personal message. I didn't know I was going to have to go to the post.
To the post. I like the way that you say it like you're actually going to the post office. I can't believe I have to visit the post. There's a telegram here. She says to go to the graveyard at midnight for your copy.
We are recording WestWorld tonight because I didn't read the shit for Harry Dresden.
It's true.
And she's like, I'm like, well, I never that's like, what, we recording tonight?
No. That is not what you
I
did.
said,
You
are we
went,
recording
we're not
tonight?
recording tonight, are we?
Oh, you're right.
That's what
You're
you
right. And
said.
you're like, why
You tried to
wouldn't we
play it
be?
off like, oh, I'm sure you're so stressed because of everything that's been happening.
Oh, no, I didn't
We're
mean it
probably
like
just
that.
not recording, right?
I honestly didn't. But I really didn't think we were recording tonight just because. Like, what were you going to talk about? I haven't read shit. And you're like, oh, no, it's in the post. Like, the links are, what did you say? They're on iTunes.
I said the post on iTunes, and the post for patrons, and the post on the Facebook page.
And to my point, I expected a direct message.
I told you during the recording that I would post it in the show notes for the episode.
Yeah, that was for the listeners.
That was for you too. You
But
monster.
special.
Oh my god.
So, guys, enjoy this surprise WestWorld recording. Brought to you.
I mean, it's not like they're getting an extra one. It probably won't even be early, because for patrons, I record them at the same time. Or I post them at the same time.
Well.
But, well, you should sign up for my newsletter, everyone. Because unlike Rashawn, I'm sure you're not expecting a direct text message telling you exactly what's happening. That would be nice, don't get me wrong. Maybe I should set something like that up. I'm sure MailChimp has an option for texts.
Oh my god.
But yeah, after we finish Westworld Season 1, we're going to break, do a reread of the Harry Potter, the 4th book, because that's what we were doing before this. Only it will be patrons only. And then, by the time we're done with the 4th reread, the 2nd season of Westworld will be done airing, and Rashawn will have watched it. And then we're going to record the 2nd season unspoiled as well. Because it was an option. I put it up on the patrons group. Like, would you guys rather we cover each episode as it airs and both of us be unspoiled? And everybody was like, no, what makes Unspoiled special is that one of you've seen
Right.
it.
I'm so excited for the 2nd season. I can't wait to see what's coming.
Yeah, I have no idea what to think. But I think it'll be cool. So we'll break for Harry Potter. And then we'll go back to Westworld and we'll take another hiatus from Harry Potter. So, just for y'all's information. And also, I want to let y'all know that if you are desperate for more Harry Potter right the fuck now, what you can do is help me get another 100 reviews on iTunes. And every 100, I will release another unspoiled special episode that Rashawn and I did covering the movies. We did 3, and they were a reward for those who were donating to our GoFundMe for our trip to Orlando. And then I had a bunch of people who didn't find the show until long after our trip, and they were like, I really want to get those episodes, though. How do I do that? And I was like, I could make it like a patron tier, I guess, but it's only like 3 episodes. And then I was like, you know what we need? We need more reviews. So if you want that stuff, go to iTunes, Unspoiled Harry Potter, leave a review. Share it with people and tell them to leave reviews. It takes 2 seconds. So easy. And the last time I checked when I posted this as a challenge, I think I was at 322 reviews. So we'll need 422 for the first episode to get posted.
Wow.
So, yeah. And we currently are, let me just check the new one. We are at 343. So, since I posted the challenge, I've gotten 10.
Oh, okay.
But we have passed 1 million downloads for Harry Potter. So, I know y'all are out there listening. Y'all are there. Even though this is the Westworld show. But I know you're there. So just, do it. Just do it, guys.
Maybe.
And if you listen to Westworld and not Harry Potter, I highly recommend that you listen to Harry Potter. Listen to Rashawn hating something at first and being really petulant about it and then slowly growing to love it despite herself. It's pretty great.
That's pretty much what happens.
Mm-hmm. And also, FYIs, Jessica Jones is coming back tomorrow on Netflix. Whole season's dropping. And Maggie and I are going to cover that shit for patrons. We're going to do 3 episodes at a time, which is different. The first season, I just did it 1 episode at a time with Owen. But she and I are doing, because Owen's just his schedule. Don't even get me started. So She and I are going to do it 3 episodes at a time, and I'm pretty excited about it because the Netflix Marvel shows have been very, very hit or miss, but Jessica Jones has been by far the best one, I think. So I'm stoked for that to come back, and Legion's coming back on April 3rd.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, shit. You guys, if you like the twisty-turniness of this show and the questioning what's real and what's not, you will love Legion. Go find that shit. It's on Hulu. It is amazing, and I can't fucking wait for it to come back April 3rd, 10 episodes. And yes, we will wait until they have all aired, and then Maggie and I are covering that together. And then lastly, April Book Club is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And I will be covering that with Jamie, who does the Vampire Diaries and Lost podcasts. And she did Band of Brothers, which is wrapped up. So, yeah. So there's a lot happening, is what I'm saying. I had somebody in the group yesterday be like, hey, can you cover this thing that's awesome? And I'm like, lol, maybe in like 8 months. If that. There's a lot happening, a lot to keep track of. But I'm plugging along with the rebuilding of the site. And patrons, again, if there's anything that you became a patron to get access to that you can't find on the website, let me know and I will send you the Dropbox link for it. I think that's everything. I think I've covered it all. What do you think?
I think that's everything, hopefully. Because I don't know how much more you can do. So I hope that's all you got on your plate.
You know, don't even say it. Don't even say it. Because I take that as like this
a challenge?
sort of challenge. Yeah. And then, you know.
This is why you don't get a montage,
for
lady.
Anybody.
There's no time in your day for a montage.
I don't get a montage because I have a pattern of being like, I don't have time for a montage. And then inevitably, but why didn't I get a montage? I don't have time for it. And that's my pattern. Just snarling about it. All right. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap up, I swear. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed it. And I can't believe we only have 3 episodes left. This is Banana Pants. And we will see you next week with episode 8. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
So we forgot to talk about the definition of the title of the show. You wanted to do that. You want to do it?
Oh, that means I have to try to fucking say it again.
Good, because I humiliated myself at the start of the show. You can humiliate yourself at the end of the show. It's a lovely symmetry.
The episode is called Tromp Leo. And
I'm sorry. Can you do that again with more choking?
No, I cannot. Visual illusion in art especially is used to trick the eye into perceiving a painted detail as a 3-dimensional object.
So, what metaphor do you think the writers intended with this title, class? Class?
So,
Mark, no, put that away.
Clearly, this is talking about Bernard.
Yes.
On the face. But also, it could be talking about literally anything else in this whole show. So it's one of those things where it's like it's telling you something, but then it's also not telling you anything very specific.
Yeah.
Which it's
like that moment at the beginning where I was like, oh, okay, I get it. God. And then looking back, I'm like, I did not get it. Wow.
I thought I got it, but I didn't really get it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that could be just the tagline for this entire series. You thought you got it, but you didn't really get it.
Tagline for the series is just lol.
Also, tagline for my life. Possibly on my gravestone. That's what it's going to say. She thought she got it, but she didn't really.
Oh my god. Oh, that's really good. She thought she got it, but she didn't really. I love it. It's so sad. So true.
Well, my work here is done. See you next week, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.